When we hear the name Bob Marley, most of us think of sunshine, dreadlocks, and songs that call for peace, love, and unity. He's a cultural icon whose music transcended borders, making reggae a global phenomenon. Bob Marley's face is painted on murals from Kingston to Tokyo, his lyrics printed on t-shirts, and his songs still played at protests and festivals. For many, Marley represents freedom, revolution, and spiritual power. But behind the legend of Bob Marley lies a far more complicated man. A man caught between fame and family, spirituality and temptation, loyalty and betrayal. At the center of much of this turbulence was his wife, Rita Marley, a woman who stood by him, fought with him, suffered because of him, and even claimed to have experienced things about Bob that shook the myth to its core. Their relationship was messy, layered, and controversial. And if you want to understand the man behind the music, you can't avoid the turbulence between Bob and Rita Marley. This is the untold story of Bob Marley, the king of reggae, and the controversies that defined his life. The rise of a legend. Bob Marley was born Robert Nesta Marley in 1945 in 9 Mile, Jamaica. His father, a white British man in his 60s, abandoned the family early, leaving Bob to be raised by his mother, Cedella. Growing up in poverty, Marley found solace in music and spirituality. By the 1960s, Marley was part of the Wailers, a group that would revolutionize reggae. Songs like Simmer Down and One Love made waves in Jamaica. But Marley wasn't just a singer, he became a prophet-like figure, blending Rastafarian beliefs with music, spreading messages of liberation and resistance. International fame hit hard in the 1970s. Albums like Catch a Fire and Exodus made Marley a superstar, not just in Jamaica, but around the world. He was no longer just a musician. He was a voice of oppressed people everywhere. But even as his public image was one of peace and unity, his private life was filled with contradictions. The marriage, Bob and Rita Marley. In 1966, Bob Marley married Alpharetta Constantia Anderson, known as Rita Marley. Their relationship was fiery from the very beginning. Rita wasn't just his wife, she was also a member of his band as a backing vocalist, and she was deeply tied to the Rastafarian faith, which shaped Bob's worldview. But the marriage was far from perfect. Bob Marley's charisma attracted women everywhere, and he made little effort to hide his affairs. Over the years, Bob fathered at least 11 children with 7 different women, though some sources claim there could be even more. This naturally created tension with Rita, who was forced to endure the humiliation of Bob's affairs being out in the open. And while many people admire Rita for her strength and loyalty, she later revealed shocking details about her relationship with Bob, details that complicate the story of the man so many idolize. Rita Marley's shocking claims. One of the most controversial revelations came from Rita herself. In her 2004 autobiography, No Woman, No Cry, My Life with Bob Marley, she opened up about the darker sides of their relationship. She admitted that Bob could be controlling, distant, and even physically aggressive at times. Rita revealed moments when Bob forced himself on her, even when she resisted. She described one particular incident that shocked fans worldwide. Rita claimed that Bob forced her to sleep with him one night, even though she didn't want to, saying, "Bob wouldn't take no for an answer." This revelation painted Bob Marley in a new, disturbing light. For years, the world had worshipped him as a freedom fighter and spiritual leader. But Rita's testimony suggested that behind closed doors, their marriage was filled with pain, betrayal, and abuse. The infidelity and love affairs. Bob Marley's affairs were legendary, and he made no secret of them. Some of the most well-known women in his life included Cindy Breakspear, a Canadian-Jamaican beauty queen who won Miss World 1976. She had a long relationship with Bob while he was still married to Rita, and together they had a son, Damian Marley, now a famous reggae and hip-hop artist. Pat Williams, mother of Bob's son, Robbie. Anita Belnavis, a table tennis champion who had a son with Bob, Kaimani Marley. Janet Hunt, mother of Rohan Marley, who later became famous for his relationship with Lauryn Hill. In total, Marley acknowledged 11 children, but there are rumors of more, possibly up to 20. For Rita, this was a constant source of pain. She once admitted that she was forced to accept Bob's lifestyle because in Jamaican and Rastafarian culture at the time, men were often allowed such freedoms. Still, she confessed that it tore her apart emotionally. The politics and assassination attempt. Controversy didn't just come from Marley's personal life. In the 1970s, Jamaica was in political turmoil, split between the leftist People's National Party, PNP, and the conservative Jamaican Labour Party, JALP. Bob Marley, though not officially aligned, was seen as sympathetic to the PNP. In 1970, just days before he was scheduled to perform at the Smile Jamaica concert, a show meant to ease political tensions, gunmen stormed his home and shot him, Rita, and his manager. Bob survived, though injured. Many believe the attack was politically motivated, yet in true Marley fashion, he performed at the concert 2 days later, showing the world his resilience. Still, this moment changed him. It deepened his status as a revolutionary figure, but also made his life far more dangerous. The spiritual conflicts. Bob Marley's identity was also shaped by his Rastafarian faith, which emphasized spirituality, unity, and resistance to Western oppression. But Rita later revealed that Bob's spiritual devotion didn't always match his personal life. She described him as deeply religious, yet paradoxically indulgent, smoking marijuana daily as a sacrament, but also engaging in constant womanizing. Rita often struggled with the hypocrisy of it all, feeling that Bob expected her loyalty while giving her little in return. The final years. In 1977, Bob was diagnosed with acral lentiginous melanoma, a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. Doctors advised him to amputate his toe, but Marley refused, citing his Rastafarian beliefs that prohibited such a procedure. Instead, he pursued alternative treatments. As his health worsened, Rita stood by him, despite everything. She traveled with him, cared for him, and watched his body deteriorate. Bob Marley died on May 11, 1981, at just 36 years old. At his funeral, thousands came to mourn the king of reggae. Rita sang through her tears, honoring the man who had given so much to the world, even if he had taken so much from her personally. The legacy and controversy today. Today, Bob Marley is celebrated as a global icon of peace, love, and resistance. His music continues to inspire generations, from Redemption Song to Three Little Birds. His image is commercialized on posters, clothing, and merchandise worldwide. But the deeper truths of his life remain complicated. Rita Marley's memoir forced fans to re-examine the legend. Was Bob Marley a hero? Yes. Was he also deeply flawed? Absolutely. For Rita, the pain of betrayal and abuse never erased her love for him. She has since become the keeper of Bob's legacy, managing the Marley estate and ensuring that his music lives on. Yet her honesty about their troubled marriage remains one of the most controversial chapters in the Marley story. The man behind the myth. Bob Marley was not just the king of reggae, he was a man caught between greatness and weakness. He preached unity but lived in division. He sang of love while causing pain to those closest to him. He became a prophet to the world but often failed the people in his own home. And that is what makes his story so powerful. Because Bob Marley, like all legends, was human. His music may have called us to rise higher, but his flaws remind us that even heroes are complicated. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments. Do you think Bob Marley's controversies, especially with Rita, should affect how we view his legacy? Or should the music speak louder than the man's flaws?